the Minnesota Vikings Museum. Visit the Vikings Museum with your football family this holiday season. Ticket information at vikings.com/museum.
Well, welcome to yet another edition of Vikings Postgame. The Vikings trying to go on the West Coast, trying to strike gold once again for the second straight week in the postseason, but it just didn't pan out for them, falling to San Francisco today in the NFC Divisional round. The final score, you see it right there, 27-10. Welcome to Vikings Postgame, sponsored by Mystic Lake, alongside Vikings great Robert Smith. I'm Hobie Artigue. And Robert, last week, a wild game. This game, just all around weird for the Vikings. Just really couldn't get anything going.
Yeah, and you never want to make excuses for a team in the playoffs. I mean, it's tough to play in the playoffs. It's tough. It's just a different level of intensity that you need. And again, not making any excuses for the Vikings, but you come off the emotional win against the Saints, and you're going against the San Francisco 49er team that's really good for one,
yeah.
And they're well rested, and they're getting some players back that were well rested. I mean, you talk about Tart and Alexander and D Ford. I mean, there are a lot of players on that defensive side in particular. But bottom line is, you got to go out and you got to play. You got to play your best. The Vikings didn't do that today.
All right, coming up a little bit later, we'll be hearing from Mike Zimmer, his post-game press conference, as well as Kirk Cousins, too. Plus, we'll hear from some players in the locker room. But let's go ahead and show you some of the highlights of what happened today in San Francisco. Things actually started out pretty well for the Vikings, especially with the long ball. And that's something that San Francisco just didn't really allow this season. Stefon Diggs beats his man and goes 41 yards for the score, and that tied things up 7-7, but that was the biggest offensive output the Vikings had all day long. San Francisco, they ran the ball, and then probably ran the ball a little bit more. Tevin Coleman, he gets in here to put the Niners up 14-7. Niners trying to strike again late in the second quarter, but whoop! Eric Kendricks goes up. Not too bad for a linebacker.
Oh, that was a great play right there. We're going to have a chance to take a look at that one, break that one down. But just a tremendous play by Eric Kendricks, really reading the eyes of Jimmy Garoppolo.
And that equated to a field goal for the Vikings right before the half, but in the third quarter, things just fell apart. Richard Sherman picks off Kirk Cousins. A little miscommunication there, it looked like, between Cousins and Adam Thielen. And later in that drive, Coleman gets in for a second touchdown as the Niners go up 24-10. Coleman and the Niners ran for 186 yards to the Vikings 21. They outscored the Vikings 13-0 in the second half. And that was pretty much the story of the game. The third quarter, a big factor in this one. But Robert, what would you say is the biggest contributing factor to this big loss in the postseason?
Well, it's interesting. You know, you talk about what do you need to do in the playoffs to win football games, and coaches would tell you this is a passing football league. A lot of people say that outside of football. What do you need to do in the playoffs? You need to be able to run the football. You need to be able to stop the run. And I think that drastic difference in the number of rush yards in this game speaks to the level of dominance that you saw with the San Francisco defensive line against the offensive line of the Minnesota Vikings.
Powerful all day long.
And really, I think it was really more that second and third level of the defense of the Vikings had to try and come up and stop that run because, again, the offensive line of San Francisco was doing a great job of getting some openings. And, again, you never want to make excuses for them, but they were on the field for a long time, that defense. And it can be demoralizing, really, when a team can run the football that much and your own offense, what was it, 7 3-and-outs in the game? And it's very difficult when that defense, you have to get right back out on the field again.
Yeah, on the field, to your point, for 38 minutes. That really can't happen in the playoffs. But here's more from Mike Zimmer as he addressed the media following this game.
Okay, tough loss today. San Francisco played a lot better than we did. I thought they were outstanding on defense, and they controlled the tempo of the game offensively.
Mike, from start to finish, why couldn't you get anything going against that offense? I mean, that defense, I'm sorry.
You know, it's all cliche, but I think, you know, they played very well. I thought they got off blocks well. I thought they did a nice job of disrupting the passing game as well. And so, you know, I think that all those entered into it.
What did they do so well that was able to just shut down your running game in your estimation?
looked like they just got off blocks well. They got extra guys to the point of attack and did a nice job with their perimeter run support as well.
There weren't a ton of shots deep downfield.
Excuse me?
There weren't a ton of shots deep downfield in the passing game. Do you feel that was like a product of the game plan, offensive line blocking, or what?
Well, I think that we had some called and we didn't throw them, so just, we threw the one to Diggs. We had a couple others called during the course of the game, and for whatever reason, they didn't get done.
Did you feel Thielen was limited at all with his ankle out there?
No.
It looked like there was some strong player reaction on that illegal hit on Brian O'Neill. What was your thoughts when you saw that?
I didn't see the hit. I just heard they just said it was a cheap shot, which I think it was. But
At this point, how do you feel about the season being over?
Yeah, it's hard to discuss the whole entirety of the season. There's so many ups and downs throughout the course of it, and I know that I'm proud of this football team, the way they competed and worked and did all the things that they had to do throughout the course of this year. It's unfortunate we didn't play better today. So, I don't know. It's not a good day to reminisce.
It looked like there were two plays where Kirk was maybe not quite on the same page as the receiver. Adam just said that he made a mistake on the interception. Looked like there was something between Kirk and Diggs on the down and out near the goal line. I guess your thoughts on either of those plays, if you're willing?
Yeah, I mean, I don't think there was any one person today that was just not good. I think it was a combination of things like it typically is. On those two plays that you're talking about, the communication, we could have went somewhere else with the ball. We could have, so there's a lot of things that happen on not just those plays, but throughout the course of the game.
With the run defense, was it a fatigue issue? Was it not getting off blocks, or what were your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I mean, when you think about, I don't know how many first downs we got in the second half, but I don't think it was very many. So we had a lot of 3 and outs, which complicated things there. And then in the first half, they had a couple scheme runs that they ran, but it was, it was just things throughout the game.
How would you assess Kirk Cousins' game and how difficult it was for him when you guys kind of became one-dimensional and the pass rush got out?
Yeah, his game was very similar to the other guys' game.
You still, you came out last week and said, hey, he's our guy. You still feel?
Yeah.
He's up for a contract extension and all that. You still feel he's your guy moving forward?
Well, I don't know what his contract situation is, so we'll worry about that down the road. Today's not the day to discuss it.
Mike, he seemed to struggle quite a bit against a standard 4-man rush. What changed today, or what was so different about that?
Say one more time.
Kirk seemed to struggle against a 4-man rush. Just the pressure that they were bringing. Why do you?
Well, it's a pretty good rush, so that's probably why. It doesn't matter. They didn't need to blitz much. They got good pressure with their 4 guys. Pressure affects quarterbacks typically. So, I don't think it had anything to do with a 4-man rush or 3-man rush or 8-man rush.
The Niners had a few key players return, having missed a few weeks. Did you see anything today that you maybe didn't see on the film, reviewing the last?
No, those players are good players. So, but as far as scheme-wise, not really. Honestly, not much with their defense, and really not much with their offense either.
Mike, did you sense that the Sherman interception was kind of a breaking point when you guys were hanging on? I think you didn't have very many first downs, but it was still a one-score game.
Yeah, but we were fighting to hang in there, but that didn't help. But that didn't help it. And then we dropped the punt, So when you do those kind of things, it doesn't matter. You're going to get beat.
Yeah, you mentioned the drop punt. How surprising. Marcus Sherrills has always been known for being so steady and muff too, and then of course one of them was the big one.
Yeah, well, it's the wind played a factor today. I figured it would.
Like a lot of the players then are saying that it's a combination, this loss of missed opportunities and mistakes, but also facing a really good team. I wouldn't say that it's the better team. It was score-wise, but how would you equivalent, have that balance?
Well, they were a lot better than we were today. They're a good football team. I think they got a lot of good players and they do a great job. And but on the same token, we do too. And but we made too many mistakes today, and we did not execute near as well as we needed to.
Do you think fatigue played any role in that with your team?
I don't know that we looked as fresh as as we did the week before.
What did they do to have success against your screen game today?
I think they just rallied to it pretty well. I don't think there were man coverage on the ones that we hit, or the ones we tried anyway. They play very hard defensively. Okay.
Well, that was Vikings head coach Mike Zimmer. Coming up a little bit later, we'll also hear from quarterback Kirk Cousins after his day in San Francisco. And we chat about Kirk Cousins because he was sacked 6 times in this game, most of that coming at the end of the game. But that's something we've also seen so far this season, too. You look at the games against the Packers, you look at the games against the Bears, too. Low numbers of pass rushers really affected him in some of these games.
Yeah, and again, we talked about this really as a preview for this matchup, what was going to be the key. And we talk, again, so many times about, can you run the football? Can you stop the run? Can you win up front? Yeah. Basically is what it comes down to. And the numbers speak for themselves. And you talk about an offensive line maybe that has changed its composition this year, gotten a little bit lighter. And with some of the defenses that you're going to face, you're going to be able to pull some things off. You're going to be able to quite literally pull some of your guys and get good movement up front. When you go against a front like this,
you sacrifice something.
Yeah, absolutely. With Alexander and with Nick Bosa and with Dee Ford back, you've got some really stout players that were really fresh. And it was really a bad combination, a perfect storm, if you will, because of them having the bye week and a lot of those guys being out and hurt for some time at the end of the season and then back and healthy in this playoff game.
A mixed bag for Kirk Cousins in this season finale. The great touchdown to Diggs, but also throwing that interception. Here's more from the Vikings QB after today's loss against San Fran.
I'll just start and then take questions you have. 49ers felt like they were the better team today. We didn't do enough offensively, to give ourselves a chance to win the game. And it hurts right now, and Coach said he was proud of the way the team fought this year, but right now it's just so raw that we're just kind of focused on this game and just falling short. I thought the 49ers were a good team, and they earned the number 1 seed and home field advantage throughout the way they played this season, and they were tough today. So take any questions you have.
Kirk, with the inability to get the run game going, did it feel like you were constantly battling behind the chains today?
Yeah, we struggled to run it effectively, and that made it tough.
Kirk, this team being predicated on a run-first offense, does it feel like a priority this offseason is trying to find maybe other ways to win when that run inevitably at times will get taken away?
I haven't even thought that far ahead. I'm thinking about this game really, and certainly we didn't play well enough as an offense to win.
Kirk, from start to finish, you really couldn't get the offense going against this defense. What were the reasons for that?
Hard to say until I watch the tape, but I would think it's a variety of reasons.
How difficult was it when you guys kind of became one-dimensional and they just swarmed you there for a while at the end?
Yeah, and I think also just the margin at that point with less time. They know we have to pass and be in a hurry-up mode, so that made it tough. But it always is like that when you're in the pass mode at the end and trailing.
Adam said that he should have continued his route. He should have gotten inside on the interception. I was also wondering on the pass to Diggs near the goal line, it looked like you reacted after that. Was there miscommunication or something that didn't go right for you there?
Yeah, just I felt like, when I was throwing it, I thought we had it. The corner was off, and I think I just pulled him too far to the sideline and just didn't connect on it. Tough one.
Did anything about the physicality of the 49ers defense, do you feel like take you out by surprise at all, or did you know that was what you were going to be facing?
Yeah, we knew what we were going to be facing when you're the number 1 seed. Got to bye, home field advantage. You know, you've earned that, and you're a good team. And you can look at a lot of their statistical numbers on defense. You know, they had earned and proven that they're a good front and a good defense, good team.
Obviously, they have a really good defensive line. What made the pressure that you saw today so difficult to combat?
Not sure until I watched the tape, but I think it was a combination of having some third downs that were longer after not being productive on first and second down, and then not converting third downs. So we weren't able to stay on the field and run more plays, and they just do a good job of keeping things in front of them and forcing you to kind of gain it bit by bit, and that's about it.
Can you describe what you're seeing on the interception to Sherman at that point?
Yeah, just trying to get at him there on the inside to the as he breaks across the corner's face.
What kind of measuring stick does this show? I mean, they were the top seed, and you're trying to get to that level. What does this show on how far you guys maybe need to go to get to that level?
Today they were the better team, and that's really what you take from it.
And the subject, possible contract extension for you, is obviously going to be coming up. It'd be a hot topic. Is that something you would like to be, signed kind of an extension, long-term type guy in Minnesota?
Just not my focus right now. My focus is on this game and the playoffs, and certainly love it here and love being a Viking.
This team did improve over last year. Do you feel like this team is close to being a championship caliber team, or do you have any thoughts on how you get there?
I believe strongly in our organization, our coaches, our players, our locker room, and today we fell short, but there will be 31 teams that'll feel that way, and you know that going in. When you strap it up in April and get going again, you know that 31 teams are going to feel like they fell short and weren't good enough. And today we had to face that reality, but I do love our team and the makeup of our team, and loved playing with them all year.
I know you haven't seen the tape, but with some of the checkdowns early on where there were downfield routes, was that just a result of pressure, or are there any that you maybe wish you would have tried to just take a chance downfield?
I think there was one to Irv that I would have liked to have taken. I think that was the second half. Other than that, I'd have to go back and watch. But they've allowed the fewest explosive plays in the pass game of anybody in the NFL because they drop and then kind of try to force you to take checkdowns, and the last thing you want to do is force it. So when they do give you the chances like we did to Diggsy, you take it. But for the most part, you also expect to have to, chip away and just take what they give you.
Did you get the sense that they were trying to take away Dalvin at all, and they make you make the plays?
No, I felt like they did a good job on the bootlegs, playing those, and stopped the run, and and then we didn't convert third downs. That was really the thing. Just needed to hit a few more third down conversions, stay on the field.
What was your opinion on Bosa's penalized hit on Brian O'Neill?
The game was happening so fast I didn't even see it, so I can't even comment. Thanks, guys. Thank you.
Not a staggering day statistically for either quarterback today. Kirk Cousins and Jimmy Garoppolo, very even. But you look at the downfield shots, Robert. The Vikings connecting on one big one of 20-plus yards, and that was, of course, the touchdown to Stefon Diggs, that 41-yarder. But other than that, a lot of underneath stuff. Kirk completing 11 of his 13 passes underneath. Jimmy Garoppolo, similar numbers. And as we take a look at the scatter charts, Kirk Cousins right there. If you notice, Richard Sherman was on the one side of the field. And I'll let you guess which side it was on because it's the one with not a lot of green dots right now.
Yeah, it's that one with the red one with the interception right there. And Kirk had talked about that. He said he's going to take many shots as he could away from Richard Sherman. And why wouldn't you? Kirk Richard Sherman this season, one of the very best in the league, a QB rating against him of like 45
career
or something like
there,
that. It's just crazy.
But you also look the deep shots. We talked about that. What do you think is the most staggering statistic when it comes to not taking those long field shots for Kirk Cousins?
Well, I think you have to have the opportunity to take those those downfield shots, and that starts with the protection. It's not just about getting it called, it's about having the time to throw it downfield. I mean, and this is so easy to say sitting right here or when you're sitting in your living room or when you're sitting up in the stands, but one of the things that I would like to see from Kirk, if possible, is to have a better feel in the pocket, because it seems like when that pressure, especially when it's coming from behind him, and you know that you see those guys coming and be like, they're going to circle around eventually. I'd like to see him step up, and it seems like he'd get a few more of those opportunities. And I've seen times when he just kind of gets caught in that scrum. But other than that, I mean, you've got to have the protection. You've got to have the time to get the ball downfield and back that defense off a little bit. And, of course, they weren't able to run the football, weren't able to take those shots downfield. It really just every part of the offense. You can always talk about all of the nice, shiny toys that you have at QB or wide receiver or running back. If you don't get it done up front,
you're not
going
to
get
anything
matter.
Absolutely. Well, coming up a little bit later, we'll hear from Stefon Diggs about his day. Had that nice touchdown in the first quarter. But we talk about offensive struggles and running the football. The Vikings only ran the ball 10 times in this game against the 49ers, which is mind-boggling when you look at how well they ran the ball against the New Orleans Saints just a week ago. What was the difference? Was it scheme? Was it San Francisco just attacking a little bit better than New Orleans?
Well, first of all, I didn't see the number of plays total. So, I mean, there just aren't that many plays. You didn't have that many opportunities. But I think what San Francisco was really doing a great job of, when you have that zone, that outside zone stretch, you're really trying to give the running back an opportunity to either keep it front side or to cut it all the way back. And the 49ers in particular were doing a great job with Nick Bosa, running him flat along the defensive line and really keeping the cutback from happening from Dalvin Cook. But here you can see just in every aspect of the game, you know, everybody. You see Eric Armstead right here. We talked about Nick Bosa, getting Quan Alexander back and Dee Ford. You know, just some really stout play from that defensive line, getting penetration, nice execution on the moves. And again, you never want to make excuses, but those guys were nice and fresh, and they certainly came in with a really good game plan and stopped Minnesota from doing what they wanted to do first, which is run the football.
And it wasn't just one particular position on offensive line either.
No.
You saw both tackles getting beat in that highlight reel.
Absolutely.
You saw both guards. You saw also in the middle with Bradbury too.
I mean, we saw everybody getting beat. I mean, and that's a really stout front. And let's give the 49ers some credit. John Lynch, I played against him my entire. No player tackled me more than John Lynch.
Really?
There's no two ways about it. We played him twice a year, and you know, coming down from that safety spot, the guy knows football. He knew how to play the safety position. Was great on TV, and now he's great. You know, getting the pieces assembled for that team. And you talk about starting your team, not just your defense, but really starting your team from the foundation of that
in the
defensive
trenches.
line. Absolutely.
All right, here's more from the Vikings offensive line, highlighted by Pat Elflein.
Hats off to them. They played great today, and we didn't play good enough to win. So hats off to the 49ers.
Were they more physical than you guys thought they might be up front?
No, we knew what we were going into. We knew it was a real physical group, and that they build their team or their defense around their front seven, and we got beat today. We got beat.
And I know you guys wanted to get Dalvin going. They obviously wanted to stop him.
Yep.
How did their game plan work so well?
Yeah, they beat us today. They came out and they were making plays, and we didn't make plays, and we couldn't get into a rhythm on offense, which is kind of what makes us work and makes us go. So we weren't able to do that, and they beat us today.
When you look back at this season, what will you think of? You think there were some wins, some successes this year, along with a disappointment at the end?
Yeah, just when I look back on the season right now, I mean, it's tough because it's pretty emotional right now. But there's just throughout this whole locker room is a bunch of fighters, and we've been through ups and downs and close games, and they counted us out at times the whole time, and we just kept fighting. And today we came up short today.
Pat, how much did you take from Brian?
Yeah, I mean that's my guy, so I don't ever want to see that. I don't ever want to see that.
What do you think of play?
I haven't seen it. I just saw him on the ground.
All right, tough day for the offense, but that wasn't the case at the start of the game because Stefon Diggs made a great play. Didn't have much of an impact in that Saints game, but boy, Robert, he really came out with a bang against the 49ers today.
Yeah, and it was really a nice play call too, because you know you weren't going to have many opportunities to get man-to-man coverage, and it was a third and short situation, 3rd and 2, and really a great move off of the line of scrimmage. You can see beating his man Witherspoon here, and what Kirk Cousins does a nice job getting that ball back into the inside, that little back shoulder throw, but it was a great move off of the line of scrimmage because Stefon won so quickly. Witherspoon has to get his eyes back late, and by that time Kirk had the ball out of his hands, knew where Stefon was going to be. Nice delivery on that one.
Good body placement by him, too.
Yeah, absolutely.
Floating through the air. And also Stefon Diggs, that play that you saw, that 41-yard touchdown, all season long, San Francisco, one of the best teams in the NFL whenever it came to preventing deep passes, only giving up 23 20-plus yard pass plays so far this season. Makes it even more impressive that they were able to do that early in the game.
Yeah, no question about it. And Witherspoon was in there. He wasn't in there for much longer.
Yeah, that was about it. That was your time.
Because we saw Adam Thielen had a catch on him a few plays later, and he was pretty much out of the game. But that was great execution right there. But again, you cannot make that throw if you don't have the time. So it started up front right there. They gave Kirk a little bit of time. Stefon was able to make his little move off of the line of scrimmage. Nice adjustment on the ball. Nice placement on the throw, giving your receiver a chance to make the catch.
All right, here's more from Stefon Diggs after today's game.
The defense was good.
When you scored the touchdown, you're thinking you guys might have a day?
I mean, it was the first quarter. We were down by 7. We tied the game up.
Stefon, did you think that you guys had opportunities that you missed, or did they just take most of it away today?
I mean, I feel like we had some opportunities, just like any game. You know, we just didn't take advantage of it, didn't execute at a high level.
Stefon, how tough is this one to swallow?
It's going to be tough, you know, just like any game, especially at this point in the season where you're trying to go, what you're trying to accomplish. So it's going to be tough. We're going to see how the next couple of days go.
What makes this defense so tough to go up against?
They got edge rushers. They got edge rushers, and they defend the run really well. You know, the guys that they got on their front 7 is very active, especially starting with their D linemen, and that's where it all starts.
Stefon, you guys ran it. The third quarter was the most difficult one. Did you feel the change happening? What was that like for you?
Just a shift in momentum. You know how it is when you get a shift in momentum, you try to do your best to fight and battle adversity. But you know when you don't move the ball and move the ball effectively, you know, it's kind of rough.
Do you walk out of this game thinking that you guys are pretty far away from being able to contend with the best, or do you think it's closer? Do you think a few changes might help vault you into that category?
I don't know. I mean, you can take away from the game. As a professional answer I can give you could take away from it, we lost. We got a lot to learn from. It was a long year, hard-fought battle year. And move forward, I don't really know. As far as like contending, you know, you get a brand new year just like everybody else. Right now, you don't want to hear that, but that's just how that shit goes.
You guys overcame a lot this season, lost at the end, obviously. But what do you take away from this season when you look back at it?
It was a long-fought year. You know, very proud of the guys. You know, they did everything that they could, fighting each and every day. You know, practice, games, doing everything they can so we can win. So. You know, it's one thing you could take from it is you got some fighters, I guess.
Stefon, how long does it take you to digest a loss in the playoffs?
Shit. I mean, excuse my language, but once you get the opportunity to watch the film, see what you could have did better, you know, and kind of like go from there, because ain't nothing you could do at this point.
Steph, did you feel 100% after having the illness? Were you 100%?
Yeah, I was fine, you know. Did what I could.
When you face a defensive line and pass rush like this, how does it make your job as a receiver harder?
When you got a good pass rush, the ball got to come out, you know, and you just got to do what you can at the top of your route to get out your breaks and make contested catches. So really it's just a part of everybody just really doing their job. You know, it's going to be tough on everybody, so kind of just being there, being where you're supposed to be, when you're supposed to be there.
The way they executed, is it the toughest defense that you feel like you guys faced this year?
Yeah, you got to say that. They held us to 10 points. They got, like I said, they got some great edge rushers. They got some great interior guys, linebackers flying around. They're playing some real good football.
Does it feel like this offense still needs to find other ways to win if you can't get the run game going like it happened today?
I don't know. I mean, I feel like you got to do whatever you got to do to win, so whatever it takes.
What kind of measuring stick is this game? The fact, they're the #1 seed. They got you pretty good. What you got to do to get to their level?
One more time.
What do you got to do to get to their level? I mean, they're the #1 seed. That's where you guys kind of want to be. What do you got to do close to that?
Execute, really, probably.
Eric Kendricks said this isn't the first time the veterans have been he said, hit in the mouth. How was this one different?
I don't know.
Stefon, I think just about all your key pieces on offense are under contract for next season. What's your level of confidence that you have the pieces in place to keep growing as you did from year 1 with Kirk to year 2?
It's just going to be another opportunity for us to get better. Just take it one day at a time. Whenever we do get back and get back to work. So, we can talk about it when we get there, I guess.
Do you look at, you won a playoff game. Do you look at that as a successful season?
I guess you would never look at it as a successful season if you don't get to where you want to go at the end game. You can look at it as partly successful, I guess, but that's not how it works. At the end of the day, we want to win, and if you don't get to your ultimate goal, you're short.
Well, the passing game not as prolific as it has been all season long, but you look at the run game, you could say the same thing about that too. Dalvin Cook, a week ago, 130 all-purpose yards against the Saints. Today, 29.
Yeah.
What was San Francisco doing so well against Dalvin that he could really just not get in a rhythm in this game?
Well, first of all, their primary focus was on him. They went into the game saying, we're going to stop Dalvin Cook. We're not going to allow you to run the football, and we're not going to allow them to get you the ball on screen. So they were very keenly aware of that as well. We saw a couple opportunities that they had to try and get him the ball on screen plays. The defense was there right away. So they were keying on him. But from there, it's really about execution. And again, we talked about what happened up front. It wasn't just one player, one position. All along that front, the defensive line for San Francisco, those guys were getting off of blocks. They were getting penetration into the backfield. They were doing a good job protecting on the backside. We talked about that outside zone stretch. Used to love that play, 60 and 70 outside, and your aiming point is the tight end. So when you get the ball, you're heading towards the tight end. Maybe you're going to stay on that path, but you can cut that thing all the way back. No chance they were going to be able to cut that ball back the way that San Francisco was playing that. And we saw Nick Bosa a number of times make that stop on the backside. And again, because they had so many 3-and-outs, you just didn't have that many opportunities. So you get behind because you're not running the ball initially, and then you get in the situation where you're trying to throw the ball too much, and then you have the 3-and-out, so you have even fewer opportunities. So it really was again a perfect storm. But again, credit to San Francisco. They did a great job of beating those blocks, not staying blocked, getting off of those blocks, focusing on Dalvin Cook, and really shutting that run down.
All right, here's more from 33 after his tough game on the West Coast.
Difficult for Minnesota to find this rhythm offensively.
They just played a better game. Yeah, that was it.
It was obvious their game plan was to bottle you up. Did you feel that right from the beginning?
Yeah, that's why we tried to hit some big plays in the passing game to open that up. I think we hit a big play. But then, we kind of got a little stalemated, and we didn't make as many plays as they did, and they controlled the time of possession more than we did.
They also got the screens. They bottled up those screens too.
Yeah, when you don't get in rhythm and don't, get to run the game going and get things going, they can just sit back and, fly around and make plays. So that's what they did.
When you look at this season, will you think it's a success?
Huh?
When you look back at this season, how will you look at this season? What will you think of?
We did a lot of good things, and we did some things that we could correct. But like I said, our ultimate goal was to get to the big dance and win it. And we didn't do that. We fell short. But, the bright side of it, our core guys and guys that, that we value in the locker room are coming back to, coming back next year. So we got to keep this one in our back pocket and build from it.
Devin, do you feel that it was a combination of missed opportunities on your guys' end and the fact that they were probably the most stout defense you've faced yet?
At the end of the day, it wasn't about what they did. It's just about we had to go execute, and I think they executed better. We all know they was a good team. They wouldn't have been here if they wasn't a good team. So they just executed better than us, and they flew around faster than us.
Delvin, the numbers are pretty staggering. 7 first downs, only 21 rushing yards. What made it so difficult for you guys to find that rhythm?
We just didn't make plays, I guess. I don't know what to tell y'all. I can't tell y'all nothing. They had a good game and they won. I don't know.
they get guys that are
All right, tough day for Dalvin Cook running the football. Coming up a little bit later, we'll hear from Eric Kendricks, who had that great interception, had a good game all around individually, but that Vikings defense just a tough one as well. In the first half, they shut down Jimmy Garoppolo and company. Aside from that first drive, they played a pretty solid first half of football, but once that run game started going for San Francisco, they just could not stop it once it got rolling.
Yeah, and we talk about being fresh, and the concept that people talk about is in boxing with the body blows, and they just add up. Yeah. Because you just keep getting pounded, and you're absorbing these run blocks. And as a defense, you just get tired. And you add to that the fact that there were so many 3-and-outs from the offense, you're back on the field. You're back on the field so quickly. So, yes, initially you're able to weather that storm, but the combination of the number of plays that you're facing, the fact that this is a Niners team that was coming off of a bye week, it was just too much for that Viking defense. You can only handle so much.
But you know what? Eric Kendricks, he was a lot to handle this season. So many pass breakups that we saw, and he finally got his hands on an interception at a critical time in this ballgame. And Robert, this could have changed the tide early on in this.
Yeah, and I love this. The way they have him set deep, they want him to be able to read, run, or pass early in this thing. I just love the way that they do this against the I formation. You can see Eric Kendricks was set a little bit further back in the formation. And you see what San Francisco is trying to do, get the fullback in motion, pull the linebacker out with Barr, but then in the middle, Kendricks does a great job, says this is not going to be a pass, but he kind of sneaks back there, and he knows that Jimmy Garoppolo's got his eyes downfield. Kendricks did a great job not reacting too quickly to try and get under the pass. He was very patient right there, and that's great coaching because they say, watch the body language. Is this really a run, or is this just play action?
Sure.
And he had seen it enough on film that he did just a great job of executing, hiding behind the offensive line, defensive line, understanding Jimmy Garoppolo is limited in what he's going to be able to see, but I don't want to break into his vision. I need to sit back here a little bit longer and then make the nice catch. Nice job there.
An amazing hybrid, if you will. I mean, he makes plays like a safety. He also led the team in tackles earlier this season. Here's more from EK in the locker room after this game.
Man, I love these guys. Obviously we put the work in. When we look back at it, we don't gotta question the effort and if the heart was there. Things like that. Obviously we got beat. Did some things wrong schematically and things like that. As a team. But as far as the effort and as far as the guys in this room, love these guys. Proud of everybody.
Obviously, it's going to be a different bunch of guys in here next year. Change, attrition, all of those things. But you held together.
Yeah, different. Every year changes. Can't really say too much about anybody else. I got to take care of my own plate. Worry about the food that's on my plate. Handle my business off the field. Train. Just get back to it. Got a lot of fight in me.
A lot of people recognize that you're one of the best linebackers in all of football, making the All-Pro team. You have to take some solace in that.
Yeah, I've always known that myself. I've always known that. I've always known me personally, but at the same time, there's more that I want. There's more that I'm after as a team. It's nice to get the validation, but at the same time, I want the thing. I want the ring.
Eric, thanks for your time.
Appreciate it.
That's linebacker Eric Kendricks.
The ring, so it's kind of difficult to even digest this right now, right?
Yeah, it sucks, man. It sucks. It's not the first time I've been hit in the mouth. Same with everybody on this team. We fight adversity. Growing up, our whole lives, pretty much. It sucks, man. It sucks, but we don't use it as a motivation, hopefully. And not too much I can say right now. I'm still a little pissed, but it is what it is.
You guys did have opportunities to force the interception from Garoppolo.
What did you say?
The interception on Garoppolo. Talked about that play.
Yeah, shoot, he threw it right to me. Honestly, it was a terrible throw, but shoot, whatever.
Kind of frustrating that you couldn't capitalize on that, right?
Yeah, I always want to help my team win, so that pick, I wish I would have scored it myself, but, we can't do it, I just want to do my job as well, just trying to set my team up. You know, we're just trying to set everybody up to win.
Was it a balance then of missed opportunities on your end and the fact that they were really good?
Yeah, you know, they had good plays. You know, they did their thing. You know, they ran the hell out of the ball. You know, we couldn't stop it. That's that's football 101. You know, we got to stop the run. And we got to run the ball. You know, it is what it is. You know.
Robert, obviously a disappointing end to the season. You never want your season to end at this point, especially whenever you're only a few wins away from a Super Bowl. But all of these guys, you can just tell from hearing from each one of them just how bought in each one of them actually is.
And that's what I mean. And it's always tough. And sitting here as a fan now of the team, you hate to see the loss, and you know that it's tough for the other fans. But you can hear the emotion in the players, but you can also hear the sincerity, and I think of the unity of the message. Because to a man, you're talking about Stefon Diggs, you're talking about Dalvin Cook, you're talking about Eric Kendricks there, and they talk about individually or success, and it's like this same look of surprise. Like I don't even know where that question's coming from, because success only means one thing ultimately in a season, and that's, do you have a ring?
Yeah.
And as much as you can take solace and whatever awards, like none of that stuff matters in the team context. And every single one of those guys thinks about it the same way, because you could see it. You could see it and you can hear it in those answers. And I love that, because those guys said, look, we've got that core group of guys that
our window is now.
Yeah, that we've got that nucleus there, but don't talk to me about whether this season was a success, because I'm talking to you about the end of the season. It wasn't a success yet.
All right, well, we've heard from most of the players, Coach Mike Zimmer. But for the final word in California, let's toss it to PA and Ben Lieber between the lines.
All right, the Minnesota Vikings 2019 season comes to a conclusion. The San Francisco 49ers, the 1 seed in the NFC, bounced the Vikings with a convincing 27-10 victory. Ben Lieber, Paul Allen, between the lines, courtesy of Gatorade. Those Niners hit hard. Those Niners have a rough and tumble rushing attack. You definitely can understand why this team is the 1 seed, and they'll be hosting the NFC title game next week. Your thoughts?
You know, in simplistic forms, you know, I know it's cliche, but we talk about games are won and lost in the trenches, and the trenches being the offensive line, the defensive line. And I thought in the first half, after we got through their first 12 to 15 plays scripted offense, I thought our defense kind of settled in. But offensively, we just had no rhythm. You know, that was a big, formidable front seven. We talked about it all week, and we said, the offensive line has to play their best game of the year. And with those guys firing off the football here at home with a week off and a week rest, they came to play. And those big guys just came in and feasted the whole game and got our offense out of rhythm. We couldn't do anything creatively, couldn't run the football. And with this offense, when you can't run the football, we're kind of dead in the water.
You played the game. I didn't. Your opinion with stuff like this matters more than mine. And what I'm getting at is Cousins throws an interception to Richard Sherman. Looked like a mix-up in communication between 8 and 19. On the play, Nick Bosa, the rookie from Ohio State.
Yep.
I mean, you can handle it however you want. I'm going to say blindsided Brian O'Neill, knocked him out of the game. As a former player with a hit like that, what do you think?
Well, I didn't actually see the hit. I talked to some guys on the sideline after that, and I said, did you see it? And they said, yeah, we saw it. And I said, do you think it was egregious? Do you think that there should have been a penalty? What do you think? And they're like, kind of a tough football play. It wasn't like a complete launching situation. Yes, was it a blindside block? Yes, it should have been. It was flagged, but nothing more than that. They just kind of thought it was a tough play. Got to have your head on the swivel.
Ben, with the way these 49ers play and the fact they are going to be at home next week against Seattle or Green Bay, you've seen Seattle, you've seen Green Bay twice, and now you prepped up for San Francisco and you watched this team play at home. Analyze the 49ers' chances to get to the Super Bowl.
Well, I think they have a pretty good chance. The Seattle game, obviously those two teams go back and forth all the time within the division. You look at that Green Bay game, when they played out here, they dominated Green Bay just like they dominated us.
Yeah.
So I know it's hard to beat the same team twice, but if they play like that against Green Bay or against us, I don't think Green Bay is going to have much of a chance. So, again, going back to our style of football, if those guys in the 49ers, if they can't run the football, I don't have a lot of faith that Garoppolo can win it with his arm. They got to have a balanced attack on offense, and that defense, they can go out and put their ears back and get after the quarterback.
My pleasure calling games with you this year on KFAN and doing Between the Lines courtesy of Gatorade. Thank you for everything, bud.
Thank you, bud.
Appreciate you. Ben Lieber, I'm Paul Allen. Whether it's Alex or Nate Vaughn or whomever on camera, on behalf of the Vikings Entertainment Network, we thank you very much for watching everything we do and continued coverage of the season finale. And really, most importantly, what's next? As the Minnesota Vikings turn the page into 2020, some very interesting decisions in the offseason to be made with some very good players set to become free agents. Kirk Cousins, as of now, heading into the final season of his deal. And now is when the offseason begins for the Vikings, because the 49ers beat the Vikings round 2 of the playoffs 27-10. That's Between the Lines, courtesy of Gatorade. Thanks for watching.
All right, PA, Ben, thank you very much. All right, time to close up Vikings postgame. And Robert, I have to ask you, a double-digit win season. Kirk Cousins, he had a great season individually. Dalvin Cook, quite an emergence running the football. Defense showed flashes as well. What will be the overall takeaway from your perspective for this 2019 season?
Yeah, I mean, it's so tough, again, because ultimately your goal is to win championships. And ultimately you're judged by that. Success or failure is, did you make it to that last game, and did you win that last game? And only one team out of 32 gets an opportunity to answer that in the positive. So, you know, it's very difficult to win games in this league. It's even more difficult to get into the playoffs. It's that much more difficult to get to the big game and then to win the big game. You look at what the team was able to do. I think most of the pieces have been assembled very well. But when you come up against teams like this was a better team today. You talk about whether they were fresher at this point. They played better today. But I think many of the pieces, or all of the pieces, were there. It's just a question of kind of that right combination. And that's another part of it. You have to be healthy at the right time. You have to be going, the matchups have to be correct. Turnovers. There are just so many things that can happen throughout the course of a season at different times to give you home advantage, to have you miss it. And that can dictate how the season ends up, because it determines how the playoff run ends up being.
All right, thank you very much for joining us here on yet another edition of Vikings Postgame. Alongside Robert Smith, I'm Hobie Artigue. Thank you very much for joining us. You can stay tuned to Vikings.com all offseason long for all of your Vikings coverage. We'll see you a little bit later as we now kick off the 2020 season for your Minnesota Vikings.